Here's a Lenovo CS2000 computer. I was asked to make a video of this from the video of all of the computers. This one I got from a place I used to work at. They were tossing it out because it didn't work properly. It's like I said, model CS2000. It was distributed by Konica Minolta Medical Imaging USA Incorporated, which is the company which provided all of the equipment that we used in that office. It has Windows XP on it, and it does in fact have an Intel Core 2 Duo, which is I believe at 2 gigahertz. So it's actually not a bad machine. However, there is a major problem with this computer, and that is the fact that the graphics card has some sort of a strange failure to it in which it does not work properly. Whenever you go to do anything graphic intensive, it'll just black out and you have to restart the whole computer. Now, I believe it's a heat-related failure based on the design of the case, which is quite poor. So let's take a look at that first. To open this up, we have two buttons on the side. You press these buttons in here, and the whole top of the case just lifts up like this. And we're inside here. Now, I already have the computer on, as you can see, because this is like take 50 of this video because it keeps making errors. But anyways, as you can see here, this is the graphics processor right here, and it's just an ambient cooler. There's no actual fan on it. However, we have the CPU cooler right here, which is blowing hot air off of the CPU onto the only cooling mechanism for the graphics card. Now, if you use this for any length of time, and it may even, it's already getting extremely hot. And then all it's doing is sitting there at the login window. This is just a horrible design, and I imagine that from, just from sitting under this much heat for years and years. This computer was made in '07. It's just eventually failed. So, here's the CPU. The CPU is actually not even lukewarm. I'm not sure if it'll let me open this up while it's running, but I'm not going to do it for too long because, like I said, the CPU fans are now not on the CPU, but here's the fans, and they're running so slowly that you can't even feel the airflow. It's like they're not even on. So there's not very much air blowing over that graphics processor whatsoever. And this is still very cool. But anyways, here's the hard drive. It's a Hitachi DeskStar. I'm not sure exactly how many gigabytes it is. We'll have to take a look at that on the computer itself in Windows. We'll also take a look at the processor specifications, and here's the power supply. It's 225 watts, so it's not worth a whole lot. In theory, if I had an external graphics card for this unit and got rid of this, or not got rid of it, but not used this internal one, chances are the computer would work just fine. But I'll explain to you what's wrong with the graphics chip in a minute. This is, you can like keep your hand on there for a few seconds. That's really hot. And this is still perfectly cool, even down here at the bottom. But anyways, put the fans back down. Lock this into place here. And this is a ridiculously long cable for something like this. That's just a poorly designed case. It doesn't have a lot of airflow. That's pretty much the only reasonably sized vent we have is right there. And there's some vents on the side there, but the rest has to go through the power supply, which doesn't take a whole lot of air through it. Over to the back here. The power supply fan is more or less the same thing as the front. It's barely moving any air. So let's go ahead and log in here, and we'll look at some specs on the computer itself. I do have the user Oblivious on here because this is the computer that I use when I get a spam call from those computer scammer people. So I let them log onto there and use that. But let's log in here. I don't know why it didn't make the sound. It does have an internal speaker and it used to work. doesn't seem to be working now for some reason. It's somewhere right over here. Yeah, it's right there. I don't know why it didn't work. Well, anyways. Okay, let's see here. Extend my mouse wire a bit. Let's first take a look at the specs. Okay, so it's what are we at here? 1.86 gigahertz. I've only got 1 gig of RAM. That's not very good, but the processor in and of itself is actually not too bad, especially for Windows XP. It's not bad at all. Anyways, the reason I have this computer, the reason I got it rather, is I think I mentioned the place I used to work at, was tossing it out because it didn't work. There was a graphics failure. So what I did to fix the graphics failure was I went on the desktop here. Oh, that's out of focus. And I went under Properties, and I think it was under Settings here. You go to Troubleshoot, and when that loads up here, that's not what I wanted. I think it's under Advanced, and then Troubleshoot. Okay, here we go. And all I did was I turned off the graphics acceleration. Now this does hurt the performance a little bit, but at least now is the point where it would work in a somewhat stable manner. Originally it would just black out and completely crash whenever anything graphic intensive came up when the graphics acceleration was on. So I turned it all the way off, which is for, if the computer has problems. So I did, and it works fine now. I think it's only crashed once or twice since I've done that. But for what I use it for, I didn't really care, because the primary purpose of this computer was to use it downstairs in my fan room, just to do things like play music or whatever, because before this I had the old Performa, which is in fact over there, to play music, and that didn't even have the internet or anything on it. So you're pretty much stuck with whatever music was locally stored on there, which wasn't a whole lot. So at least this can go on the internet, and you can use like Spotify or whatever you want to use, YouTube. I did add a wireless, whatever this thing is, one of these USB wireless network cards. So now we can in fact go on the internet. These are really cheap. I think this costs like $5, but it does work, and it works okay. So yeah, that's about it. Like I said, if this machine didn't have the graphics problem, it actually wouldn't be half that bad of a computer, but it does have the graphics problem, so not much you can do about it now. So anyways, yeah, this computer is no longer in use. I only use it for the telephone scammers now. I've replaced this computer downstairs with an iMac, 2008 iMac, so it's a year newer than this one, which works. It works better than this one. Not as good, not as good as I'd like it to, but it works better than this. At least doesn't crash. So I think that's about all for this machine. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Over and out.